Hi everyone, it's Gracie Gu here. So I posted a few videos of all the fun that Amsterdammers are having on the ice and the canals. I went to Vondel Park today after I heard that people were playing ice hockey on the pond there. It's raining. It's back to sort of typical Dutch weather, so all the ice is melting, unfortunately. But I wanted to make this video to talk about my to-do list now that we know that we are going to move probably in April to Seoul, and that is from Amsterdam, not from the US. But caveat is that everyone in our family is a US citizen. We will be applying for a D8 visa. We will have to travel to the Korean embassy in The Hague to pick up our visas once the application is all submitted, approved, and ready for the visas to go into our US passports. We are going to use an international moving company. We have done this kind of huge move before, where we went from New York to Zurich, Switzerland, where we spent 2 years. And then we also used a big international moving company to move all our stuff from New York to Amsterdam. This time around, we're going to be using a Dutch international moving company that has fantastic reviews, and I will do another video in the future going through that process as well, because getting ready for an international move is it's a big undertaking, and getting everything right with movers is one chunk of the big stressful puzzle that you have to figure out. Next on my list, we will be exchanging our driver's license for a Korean one, because you cannot drive in Korea with a foreign driver's license. We have New York driver's licenses that we had exchanged for Dutch driver's licenses. Thankfully, we didn't have to take a written or driving test for that. But Korea, you can exchange your Dutch driver's license for a Korean one, but you cannot exchange a New York driver's license for a Korean one without taking a written exam. So thankfully, we have our Dutch driver's licenses and can get them notarized, apostilled, and then exchange them for a Korean driver's license without having to take a written exam in Korea. Next, we will be taking PCR tests 72 hours prior to our departure, and that only applies for people 6 years old and up. Thankfully, our son is 2 years old, does not have to get a PCR test. And then we will have to get PCR tests upon arrival at Incheon Kongang, Incheon Airport in Korea. Problem there is about the time of your arrival. So if you arrive during kind of normal business hours, you can go to the testing site in Incheon Airport. If you come sort of after hours, then you have 3 days from your arrival in Korea to go to an off-site testing center and get your PCR test there. We will be quarantining for the mandatory 15 days from your entry date at a employer-sponsored quarantine housing, which is different from the government facilities that some people are paying for to stay once they get to Korea. We have been told that there are a few sites available for us. We don't know all the details yet, how far it is, how big it is. All we know is that it will be for 15 days, and we have access to delivery services like Coupang Fresh. Thank God, because I use delivery services all the time, even here in Amsterdam. Definitely did in New York. And last but not least, I have been told that there are random checks upon arrival at Incheon. So you may be taken aside to get a temperature check. They will also be monitoring arriving passengers for symptoms like coughing, runny nose. So I have heard anecdotes about people taking off all their layers and making sure that they're not overheated and sweating and having runny noses. If you are taken aside and given a random test, I have also heard anecdotes about people being detained in the airport for up to 10 hours while they wait for their test results. This is obviously not ideal for anyone, and particularly not for people with young children. I'm not clear whether you have access to your check-in luggage. I'm pretty sure you don't. So we will be, bringing everything that we possibly can think of that we will need for 24 hours upon arrival, just in case, onto the plane with us. We will most likely be flying Korean Air. Thankfully, my husband's employer will be flying us business class, so that helps a lot with traveling with a 2-year-old as well. One more thing to mention is that you will also need to test negative at the end of your quarantine period in order to be released into Seoul. So very quickly, some other things I want to talk about in future posts is opening a bank account in Korea, because you have to do it in person. You can't open one by proxy. And getting a Korean mobile wireless account. Currently, I have an AT&T SIM card and US service, as well as my T-Mobile Dutch wireless SIM card. I imagine I will be abandoning both once I move to Korea and just get a Korean SIM card. And finally, we will also be getting a Korean car. So right now we're considering either a Hyundai, I mix up the American pronunciation with my Korean pronunciation, a Hyundai Grandeur or a Kia K7. So there will be more on that later. Okay, that was nice to see you guys. Bye.